award-winning Tennessee Wildcast is on the air with the latest on hunting, fishing, boating, wildlife watching, and all things outdoors. Make welcome your host, drummer and outdoor expert novice, Jason Harmon.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to this edition of Tennessee Wildcast. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching and listening. We got a fun show for you today. We got Mr. Jereme Odom with us, Lieutenant Jereme Odom for Region 2. We're going to talk about trapping today, so I'm excited to do that today.
Looking forward to it.
Trapping is very popular right now. I hear a lot about it. It seems like it's coming back, and there's more and more of it, so I'm excited to learn more today.
Yeah.
Don, do you want to jump in here and highlight a radio station?
Yeah,
you always enjoy to do that.
Our radio station shout-out today is going to WTBG. That's in Brownsville. And 95.3, and we really appreciate them. They're you might be hearing this as a Wildcast extra during the week at 12:30 p.m. and also, that's Monday through Friday, and then also on the weekend. So the full show. So we appreciate WTBG.
I like
Brownsville.
that.
Yeah.
WTBG.
It's got a nice ring to it, doesn't it?
It's kind of fun. Yeah. Jeremy, you want to give it a shot? WTBG?
I better not.
And as always, I like to tout our e-store, shop.gooutdoorstennessee.com for hats, for mugs, for all kinds of fun swag there. If you need a license and we want you to go buy a license, get outside and enjoy the outdoors. That's gooutdoorstennessee.com. tnwildlife.org is our website for everything else. So that's our public service announcement.
Yeah, those licenses are 365 days good for a full year now. Yep. So that's awesome. Yep. How many years, Jeremy, did you hear complaints from folks wanting that to be a year-long deal?
Several. Now we're hearing complaints the other side now. So.
Oh, no.
I just got used to that other way.
Change.
Yeah, right.
There was someone asked me, why do you do that? And I think it's great for introducing people to the outdoors. I mean, if you want to take somebody hunting and they buy a license in November or sometime in there when it's kind of the right time to introduce somebody with a gun.
February, small game.
February,
it'd only be good for 28 days.
Yeah, exactly.
It'll expire at the end of February. So now if they buy it then, they can hunt the next year up to that date,
That's right.
It's handy.
It is.
I think.
Yes.
Well, Jeremy, Lieutenant Jereme Odom is here with us today. We're going to talk trapping, but first I wanted to jump in and learn a little bit about you. It's first time on the show?
It is.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Yeah, first time on Wildcast. So
maybe won't be my last.
No, we'll have you back, I'm sure. We'll see how it goes today, though.
No commitment.
Don't want to lock anything in. But anyway, let the folks know listening and watching today just a little bit about you.
Okay. So I grew up in Houston County, not far from here. And went to school at UT Martin, and started with the agency in '98 in the fisheries division in West Tennessee. So worked with the hatchery group, Davy Crockett down there in Humboldt. And then in '99 I started as officer in Montgomery County, and worked there until 2019, and was promoted to the Region 2 Wildlife Enforcement Coordinator there in the Nashville area.
All right.
So, I've been in a career.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, the previous show, we've talked about the academy, which that's where we are today. We're still here at the academy. The process of becoming an officer, and UT Martin was mentioned. That's one of the big schools folks officers go to, along with UTK and
that's right,
and Tennessee Tech. But that's cool. So, you've been doing it a while.
I have, but the rope is getting shorter, so not as many years left on it.
Well, yeah, that's good. It's always good to look towards retirement too.
Things have changed, since we started. When I started, and as an officer in '99 to now. So the amount of training and the things officers get involved in, it's just so much different. But, I think for the good.
Yeah.
But the academy is really nice. So.
So Jeremy, while we're on that subject, tell me when it was in your life that you decided, that's what I want to do. I want to be a game warden. I want to be a wildlife officer.
It was early in my career. Me and my cousins used to always play around, and one of them was owned a store, and Becky and Tony said he was going to drive a truck, big truck. And I said, well, I'm going to be a cop. I'm going to pull you over. So I always had that, that law enforcement part.
Thing, yeah.
And I really thought I was going to go into some type of computers or teaching. I like education.
Uh-huh.
And but I guess it was early in high school. My father mentioned it. He said, you ought to be a game warden. And it never had crossed my mind. Only been checked one time by Officer Jim Story. Checked us rabbit hunting one time. And I don't know, just that little seed got planted and got to hanging around the officers and talking to them. And I knew really quick that's exactly what I'm going to be because it kind of took care of all the little niches that I was into.
Yeah,
and
that's
then the
neat.
love of the outdoors.
That's neat.
Awesome. So there's no. I'm pretty sure by your story, you've been in the outdoors pretty much your whole life, hunting, fishing out.
Yeah, we was real outdoor families. So, started in the spring with well, actually before that with squirrel and stuff. Try to end up the season with it, and then on the crappie beds, and this throughout the summer, and then the fall, of course, getting into the deer. So I didn't get into turkey hunting until later in high school and college. But as we started getting more turkeys, but yeah, everything was out there we were involved in. So,
Yeah.
And you realized early on, I guess, when you were going to school, how you needed to prepare for that, right? I mean, your education and everything.
Yep. It's Martin was a real hands-on school. All three of our universities here that most officers come from are really good universities.
Right.
But Martin is more, it was closer to being from home, from like Houston County, that small hometown community. So it's real involved in the classes. So we got to go out. So it's almost like, I was going out with my family. We were still hunting and stuff, but this time we had a backpack shocker on our back or something to that effect. So yeah, I learned a lot in college, but just kept growing.
That's cool. I didn't know the fisheries side of things too, so that's good. Yeah, a lot of our officers come in at different stages, whether it's a wildlife tech or fisheries tech or whatever it may be. So, well, today we want to cover trapping. Like I said earlier, I think it seems to be growing. You hear a lot more about it these days, and it's a good thing. Folks love to do it. It's cool way to get outside and enjoy the outdoors. So, I guess first off, I don't know. Let's start with ways to get started in trapping and how to get started. Maybe just jump off there and
yeah. So trapping. I kind of mentioned y'all before the show is trapping's not like going deer hunting. If I would say, hey, I've never been deer hunting, Jason, won't you take me out? It's like, well, I've got a big one on my property. I don't really want Jeremy to shoot it. Do you have a place, Jeremy, we can go or something like that? So, but trapping's totally different. There's not a whole lot of folks trapping. Now it's really niched. So you can come to my property. I can go to your property. It's really easy to go places to do some trapping, and
because the landowners are welcome.
Yes, they want that.
Yeah.
There's nothing out there really controlling these numbers of these fur bearers. So it's easy to find a place to go, and trappers love to teach other trappers.
Education.
Yes. So the opportunity to learn how to do it is really easy. You just got to start asking around. Hey, do you trap? And then the ones that doesn't have that availability to find someone to teach them, YouTube. You've heard people say, "I'll go to YouTube and learn how to hook up a hot water heater or whatever."
Yeah.
But trapping, I learned stuff, and that's the thing about trappers. You're always learning. There's always a niche, and there's always a little trick you can do to kind of help out. So I've learned some things, bucket sets, trying to catch some otters in ponds that people done. I learned doing that from YouTube. So yeah, you can do that, and then it's really inexpensive to get started. A trapping can be starting off with just getting a Have a Heart cage. You can go down to TSC or Rural King or get it online.
Co-op or
yeah,
something.
co-op, any place like that, and you just buy that first trap, and that's trapping. Setting that cage, and then you just start learning. Okay, how am I going to trap this coon and not the house cat or this possum or the skunk? That's a lot of people. That's what the first thing they'll do. They'll buy a Have a Heart or some kind of cage trap. They set it out and they've got a skunk. And they're like, what do we do now? So,
well, let's touch on that.
Step
What would you
one,
do?
check.
What do you encourage folks to do? And what's the legal thing to do?
So it can't be transported. So it's got to be either let go or dispatched right there. Most of the time what we advise is to get some kind of old blanket, old sheet or something like that, and then put that over it. And that's going to, even if it does spray, it's going to be contained in there. And if you go up there slowly and drop it, most of the time they're not going to spray. And you just ease it up and cover it up. And then you'll grab that cage from the top and you can move it out away from your home air conditioner unit, anything like that.
They tend to love that little area, don't they? Yeah.
Yes, they do. So once you move it out in a safe area, then you can uncover the front of that cage. You can shoot that animal with a rifle or something from a little bit of a distance, 22. And I normally wait several hours or even the next day, and then you can dump that animal out. Mm-hmm. And that protects you from getting sprayed.
That's good information. Good information. So you've touched on a lot so far, but we're just going to keep digging here. You talked about how you learned watching YouTube videos, but you also mentioned before the show that you went trapping with your grandfather some too?
Yeah, I mean, we have a trapping trailer that we teach out of.
Okay.
And in that trailer is some of my father's and my great-grandfather's traps that we still use. I mean, they're similar to the ones hanging here on the wall. So probably not a trap you want to go out and use right now because just they're so old, the springs are not as good. But it's good traps to use to learn with. And as a little boy, I remember going with my dad, and fur prices were a lot better back then. But going out and him catching minks and me following behind him in the little creeks and spring house and running these little traps trying to catch, some minks and stuff and catching coons. And then as I got older, I got into more of the beaver trapping and things of that sort. But yeah, so it's a lot of fun. I always say that when you're running a trap line, it's like a little kid waking up on Christmas morning. You know you're getting something. You just don't know what you're getting.
So. You may be getting nothing.
You could be. You could be.
That coal in the
coal ride.
Christmas morning coal. So what's the easiest for somebody that's new? What's the easiest? Oh, you mentioned the cage trap. That's pretty easy. But what if they want to go a little bit more advanced? That's not so much set it and forget it. What's one of the traps that you suggest?
A lot of people, you got to kind of think about, okay, who is listening to this right now? Is it a farmer? Is it an avid hunter? Is it someone that's in an inner city or out in the country, whatnot, but kind of a more residential area, and they're having some coon problems. But whatever falls in that, probably the next thing above that cage, it's a first-time trapping, is what's called like our dog-proof traps. They're tube style or sometimes a block style. They'll have some type of spring that you'll squeeze in, set the trigger on it, and then a coon will reach in there, and as he's getting the bait that you placed, the trap will go off, and it's like a lot of times they're called like a raccoon cuff. So it holds them like a handcuff, and they're there waiting on you. And from that, you can then dispatch that animal and get rid of it. Only thing that's going to get in there is a coon. Depending on what type of bait you use, sometimes people, if they have a lot of mice and things in some areas around, garden or cornfield, mice population might be a little high, so mice will get in there sometimes and mess with it. But I've heard people say a possum will mess with it, depending on the type.
Yeah.
But a lot of times I'll use soured corn. So I'll give that little treat away. But you'll take corn, put it in some kind of a bucket with a lid, and just put water on it and sour that corn. And depending on if you keep it indoors for a while to get that process to start working. But once you sour that corn, you put it in there. Pretty much the only thing that's going to bother it then is the raccoon.
Okay.
So it's real easy.
Interesting.
You put 4 or 5 kernels inside of it and a few outside. You secure that dog proof to a tree. And then when that animal comes by, that raccoon, he'll get a little taste. Oh, that's pretty good. And when he goes in that trap, you'll have him.
Yeah.
So you can catch a lot of coons really quick with these dog proofs. So that would be my next, one to go up. It's real, elementary, real easy to set, and they're not expensive. You can get several, for the price you'd buy, a cage.
Okay.
For.
Well, I think about the snare. I mean, I think that would be one of the most simplest traps. It's a cable, but is it harder to catch stuff with a snare?
It is. So you got to think about the snares. So, yeah, it's just a cable. You don't have to you're not worried about getting caught in it. Yeah, you're getting looped. They'll have a stop on them. Most time, wherever you buy them, they're meeting our dimensions, on what's legal. But it's a lot goes into a snare. Okay, where are we on a run? Are we on some type of a fence, that the coyote's going under or something like that? So how far do I put it off the ground? How do I get that snare to hang just right when it goes into it? So, you got to – any of our traps, if you stop and really think about, what a trapper does, a successful trapper, besides like a cage. You've got hundreds of thousands of acres out here, in Tennessee, and you're trying to get this animal in this area to step on this little small spot or go through this little small spot or come to my one, bait on this 100 acre.
Right.
So, it's amazing how, a good trapper can do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, snares are tough. I mean, it's fun to try, but a lot of times they're getting bumped or getting things like that. If you ever find that one good spot that's defined, it kind of limits that animal where he's always got to go through this. You can be pretty successful, but you can get frustrated quite easily.
Well,
with the snare.
and they're limited to. Well, you got to get them funneled right to it, but you're trying to capture their leg, right? Or is it going to wrap around their body of the animal, or what?
Yeah, so it depends on how you do it, but most time they're going to be walking through it. So it's just a loose, open hoop, and as they walk through it, they get their first step, into it, maybe, part of their leg, and then it's grabbing their body, and it's starting to, tighten up on them. So most time it's getting, one or two of their legs and their chest area, and that's what's held them. Okay. And then it's got to stop on it where it can't draw down too tight. And so then you can come and either, hey, I don't want this animal, or, it's something I'm not looking for, and you can, put a catch pole on it, hold it down, release the snare, or cut the snare, and then release that animal.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I think we're probably talking about trapping right now because it's that time of year. But when do you trap? What time of year is that normally?
So ideally for me and most trappers, you kind of start right after deer season, towards middle December to late December. The weather gets kind of better for trapping. We haven't got into the really, really cold temperature yet. When you're using a leg hold, whether it's cushion hold or offset jaw or laminate jaws, whatever, as the ground freezes and thaws, and depending on what type of dirt you're using, if you're using wax dirt or dry dirt or what, the weather affects all that. So every time it rains, if it freezes. Yeah. So if you just kind of get into that, late December, early January, you can be really, really successful in that. Once you get into late February, the weather, unless you really know what you're doing and you're experienced in that, it's hard for a new trapper to be successful in that with the weather. It's like, we were doing a trapping class this week for our first 2 cadet classes. Wasn't able to go through because of COVID, and this year class 003 got to do it during academy phase, and we wanted to offer that opportunity for the other ones. Yeah. So we had an optional class for them to come in for 3 days. And as you know, I don't know how many inches of rain we end up having.
Oh, yeah, it's been rain, yeah.
It come a flood. But we knew that was happening, so we used wax dirt. And you can buy that from a trapping organization. Okay. And it protects your trap. And it's not going to freeze. It sheds the water off of it. So all of our traps that we were trying to use for coyotes and things like that on top of the ground were still ready to go and wasn't affected. So little things like that, you have to be aware of.
Little tricks and things that you'll learn as you get more advanced and you learn your equipment. And
that's right.
I had no idea there was waxed dirt. I've always seen you sift potting soil or something over a trap, and get it real fine and cover them and blend it in and all that stuff. So I didn't know there was waxed dirt.
Yeah, and some people make it, but I'm trapping on my properties and things just to control the predators, to help the quails, help the turkeys, with their numbers. Yeah. So we're trying to catch, anything that's eating an egg is what we try to keep that population in check. So
protect your chickens.
Yeah, I've lost them. They weren't quick enough on my trapping. Yeah. But so that's the only reason I'm doing it. So I'm using that dry dirt. I get old dirt out of a barn, things like that. I haven't seen any moisture in years.
Good tip.
But we use some, some wax dirt when we're teaching, and I've used it some, when it gets really cold, and I don't want to shut down my trapping. But guys it's up north that's trapping a lot. They can't. It's not feasible to buy all that wax dirt, so they make their own. And so you can go on YouTube.
There you go. Back
you can get your own own recipe to do that. But so trapping can be really expensive or really cheap, depends on which route you go.
Now, you ran traps this morning, right?
We did. Yeah, our trap line this morning was, about 30 to 40 traps is what we ran.
Uh-huh.
Right now, I've got a personal line out of over 200 traps. So
Wow.
So it takes me a couple of hours to run all them traps.
And you have to remember where all those are.
You do.
That's legally, you have to know where they are.
That's right.
And you have to check them within so many hours, correct?
Yep. So if you're, speaking of that, so if you're using an instant kill trap that could be like a conibear or a water drowner set or something like that, you have every 72 hours.
Okay.
If you're using any of the other types, so anyway from a cage, a coon cuff to a land set, for a leg holder, a snare, any of that, it's every 36 hours. Mm-hmm. Now, a trapper, he's doing it for a reason. Mm-hmm. He's either trying to control his population, so you're trying to take advantage of as much as you can, or you're for the fur price. So you don't want to wait 36 hours or 72 hours. You're visiting these traps every day.
Yeah.
Sometime in that 24-hour period, So, like, I might run my traps early this morning, and I might not get it run again until tomorrow night late. So I'm still doing it in, my 24-hour period, but just life gets in the way. Mm-hmm. And it takes a while. It ain't like going and looking at a couple of them.
Right.
Well, and thinking about those kill traps, if you're leaving that animal there, is that going to affect your future trapping abilities in that area? If you've got a dead animal that's been there too long? And
not so much in a water set.
Okay.
A beaver's not really concerned about that. They'll do castor mounds and things of that sort. But I'm doing a lot of turnover in traps. So I'm not dealing so much with castor mounds. I'm doing runs. I'm setting dens, where they're doing fresh cuttings coming up the banks, things like that. That's what I'm doing. So you don't have to worry about that. What you do worry about is as the temperatures start rising, if it stays in the water too much, the hide will start slipping. So if you do, successful and get something you want to sell, then, you don't want that animal to be in that water that long.
Well, you've touched on why trap? Why do you trap? And you mentioned market for furs. What's that like right now? Is that pretty popular?
So, yes and no. When I was a little boy, you would sell a red fox or a gray fox, upwards of close to $100. Several years ago, we'll say 20 years ago, about the time we were. People would go catch a beaver, and you get incidental otters. And we still have to tag our otters when we catch them with the CITES tags. But you would catch incidentals, and then they fixed it where now you can actually trap for otters. But the price of them got up to like $120 a piece.
Wow.
But in recent years, the markets have kind of just fell to nothing. China's not really importing anything anymore. I think right now a beaver's around $10, I believe. Coyote, here in Tennessee, most of our coyotes have a rub line, so where they're always going with these barbed wire fences.
Oh, yeah.
So you're missing that guard hairs around the back. So it really hurts our price for that. Bobcats, it's not too bad. Otters maybe can get up to around $20. But, the fur market, if you're trying to make money off of trapping, you're not probably going to be very successful.
Not like it used to be.
No.
But it's fun, and you get a little bit of your money back if you want to sell a few.
Yeah, and they have a few fur prices or fur sales around the state, and then you can try to prep some of your hides, and there's locations you can ship them to, and they'll grade them, and it gets a little bit over my head on that, but they'll grade them hides out in what grade they are, and then they pay per grade, but it's you just said it. It really is fun. It's you have people that deer hunt and they're trying to figure out, okay, how am I going to find this deer? Moving from bedding to feeding and things, and then turkey hunters, really go into it. It's, you're trying to outwit them, and you're trying to
bring them to you.
Yeah, you're trying to get something that doesn't happen natural. Is have the gobbler come to you. So. And trapping's on that thing, you're, like I said before, you're trying to get, if you're leg hold, you're trying to get a coyote to set in something that size. In this entire cornfield, I've got, 2 traps. So 2.
You got like a hockey puck size.
Yeah,
that
exactly.
That
you're needing them to step in. So, and scent's so important, and, you're using your bait and your lures, you have
got to know so much about the animal itself.
You do, and you learn, you start off and it's like, I'm going to be a trapper. And you might trap, especially if you're trying to trap a coyote, know, you might trap for a long time before you ever get it, but as you're doing that, you're learning, you know.
Right.
And a coyote is, you know, we all seen the wily coyote, you know, likes to play tricks. Well, they'll come out there and they'll flip your traps.
Oh, yeah.
And use the bathroom on it and all this kind of stuff. So it's like, ha, ha, ha. So, you know, it's really fun. I mean, I enjoy trapping. And my girls, you know, as they've grown up, you know, and they still, my 2 youngest ones, they still go with me and they want to go run traps. But it's a lot of fun to have.
It's good family time.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
Well, before we run out of time, I wanted to talk real quick about licenses and being legal. I know you touched on some of that, but do you need a license to trap?
Yes, you need a trapping license. So you'll need your type 001, just your regular hunting and fishing, and then your trapping license. And I don't remember the number off the top of my head.
Yeah.
But trapping season opens up usually around the 3rd weekend of November and goes to the end of February.
Okay.
But excluding that, you can trap beavers, coyotes, groundhogs year-round. And armadillos.
Okay.
So a lot of people have asked, you know, I thought about this the other day when we talked about doing this, is everybody's getting armadillo problems nowadays. Mm-hmm. Well, yeah. Well, you can get you a trap for that. And once you catch that first armadillo in that trap, I mean, it's easy after that. So, you know, you could populate the state with armadillos right now. So we need some more trappers for them.
Is there a market for those?
No.
Man.
Maybe we can get Don to cook us one for Thanksgiving. Maybe.
I've heard not to eat them, but don't touch them. I don't know.
Yeah, those little triangular aeration holes in my yard.
Yes.
It took me a while to figure out what that was initially, and then I finally figured it out.
Yeah, so you can, you know, they sell boxes online that you can order from them, and they'll come seasoned or unseasoned. But once you get the first box, you can even build your own, and just build you some type of a curtain with something. And as that armadillo comes through your yard, he comes inside that curtain and goes in that box, and you'll leave him in there for a few hours, and that scents that box. And then once you do that, you don't have to do anything. Just set it out there in the yard. You don't have to bait it. You just have it out there, and they go with it. So
wow,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, maybe that's something we need to get into. Maybe that's the easiest trap.
There you go.
Armadillo trapping.
Yeah. You can come to my house and we can play around there.
Let's do it. We'll do a show on armadillo trapping.
Yeah.
There is a video out there. We do have a video on I know it's on Facebook and maybe on our YouTube channel as well, but yeah. So we've got some stuff out there on that, and that's good information today.
Yeah. And they can any people in the public can call our officers. That's why we do this, and they can give technical advice. We really don't have the means to come out and help them trap, but we can give them information and kind of point them in the direction to help them.
Sure.
So that's why y'all were out today. I mean, you got
right.
these officers out there learning the ropes if they don't know it already.
Yes,
so they're
that's
learning
right.
it. Yeah,
And that's the take home today for me, especially, is that trappers are always willing to share.
They are.
and share the knowledge. So that's great.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, we didn't get into conditioning traps. I'm sure there's some tips there, but we'll get there later.
Yeah.
We'll have you back sometime. I think it was a good show. We'll have him back, Don?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, I'm for it. Yeah. Right. Jeremy's in.
Invitation has been sent. We'll see if it gets accepted. Jereme, thank you. Appreciate your
Glad y'all had
knowledge today. Don, thank you.
You bet.
This is Tennessee Wildcast. We appreciate you tuning in, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks for tuning in. Stay connected with TWRA by visiting our website at tnwildlife.org and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Hey, it's all about Tennessee wildlife. It's what we do. Tennessee Wildcast will be on the air again next week. We'll see you then.